Do you ever find your own pottery voice? What is up, Shaping Nation? This is Nick Torres here. And for those of you that don't know me, it is my mission to help potters like yourself discover your own unique pottery voice, help you sell your pottery, and just help you enjoy making pottery. So, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about whether or not you actually ever find your pottery voice, or if it's just some fictional dream that you might have in your head. And to summarize it very, very shortly, the answer is yes. You can find your pottery voice, and you will find your pottery voice. But to extend on that, so I have interviewed a lot of potters, a lot of potters. And a good portion of the interviews I ask, can you describe to me the moment when you knew you were heading in the right direction with your pottery? And a lot of them will say, I don't know if I have found the right direction for my pottery, or I don't know if I have truly found my voice, right? Which is fine. They're entitled to their opinion, but I think they have found at least the direction for their pottery. Most of the time, that's why I try to interview people, is because I find them interesting. I find the pottery they're making interesting. And I think that if I can learn from them, then I could share it with you guys. I could grow my own skill sets, and that's why I choose them. I choose potters because I think they're interesting and I think they have found their voice. I wouldn't have chose potters that I didn't think have found their own unique voice with their pottery and their own direction with their pottery. But again, back to the question, do you ever find your own unique pottery voice? Yes, yes you do. Because all these potters that I have seen, they all say pretty much the same thing. They say, I don't think I have found my pottery voice. And they also ask the question, do you ever really find your pottery voice? But see, the thing about finding a pottery voice is we go through different stages with our pottery, right? So when we're first starting out, more than likely, we are just trying to make pottery that has like a lot of glazes, because that's what we have learned at first. And maybe we're wheel throwing. But then as we grow, as our skills grow, what begins to happen is we start to expand, we start to explore more. And that becomes another version of our pottery voice. And so as our skills grow, the more we learn, our pottery starts to change. Maybe you start getting into hand building. Maybe you start getting into sculptor. And maybe you start going away from the traditional glazes and you start using more underglazes, brighter type underglazes. Maybe you start adding some sgraffito. And along this journey, your pottery is going to change quite a bit. And that's fine. Your pottery voice is always there, however. Whatever you are making, that is your pottery voice, because only you can make that, only you can do certain things that you can do. And although it may change, what begins to happen is you start adding new skills to your repertoire. You start adding new skills, and with each new skill, your pottery voice grows and grows and grows. You see, I believe that we do find our pottery voice. Right now, you're probably making something that you are really interested in, and that is wonderful. If you are making something that you are interested in and that is like bringing you joy, that is your pottery voice at that moment. And then maybe, who knows, 6 months from now, you start changing your pottery voice. But that's fine. It's just adding another layer to your pottery voice that has already been starting to show out. It's just every single time you start to change your pottery or your pottery evolves, it's just adding another layer to that pottery voice. You have already found it. It's just adding another layer to it. Each new skill, each new experiment you try, everything you try, that is just adding another layer to your pottery voice. And you do find it. I promise you, you do find it. You just have to start thinking in a different way. Because with the pottery you're making right now, that is your pottery voice. Whether it's just because of your skill level is lacking, or it's just because you are trying something new, that is another layer that starts adding on one of another. And every single time you grow, your pottery is growing with you. And you do find your pottery voice, because your pottery is going to grow and you are going to grow as well. And it becomes this incline of a trajectory where your pottery is just always growing. And that's what we want. We don't want our pottery to stay stagnant, because if our pottery was stagnant, then we would be bored out of our mind. So I want you to start thinking about each new layer, each new skill that you learn. It's just another layer to your pottery voice, right? I bet you could think right now, however long you've been making pottery, you could see the journey in your head of where you started, what the pottery went to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. You could see that journey going along in your head. Like, for example, myself, I started out with throwing on the wheel and using basic glazes, and I wanted to do colored combination glazes. And then I went on to graffito for a little bit, and each part has been my pottery voice in that moment. Each one of those has been my pottery voice. The next thing I worked on was raku. And then the next thing I worked on was just large vases, because I really liked throwing large vases. And then I went into sculpture. And then I went into creating my own diorama sculptures onto mugs. And each new skill I learned, it added to my pottery voice. And my pottery voice will still be growing, and so should yours. And that's why I want to say is that you do find your pottery voice. It's just about adding new layers to that pottery voice. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know if you think we ever find our pottery voice. I would love to hear your thoughts.